Late start this morning. They're calling for 6 to 12 inches of snow. And it's coming down straight down today. The only thing about it coming straight down is it's not coming down with the wind, which is bad. So, yay! Woohoo! Spring loaded center push. And that will help keep everything squared up. My jig, I do them 5 at a time. This is the back plates prepped for that racks. Now we wait. Now we talk. Good morning. Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous. We've had all of our winter in the last week. I think there was almost 12 inches of snow here 3 days ago. 3 days ago? 4 and 3 days ago. I finally got shoveled out today, and now they're calling for 6 to 12 inches more. Yay! But at least it's not howling, blowing wind. So, on a good note, my commute is really short. I go from that room into this room, and that's my commute. So I don't have to worry about it too much. Well, we got to do some hot racks today. I'm working on drawer pulls, the usual stuff. But I'm going to try to throw in something kind of fun. This was my attempt at a tomahawk out of a railroad spike a while back. And it's okay, but kind of cool. But not quite what I was looking for. So we're gonna try something else today. In the meantime, we wait. For the fire to get going. A lot of what makes this easier is the jigs and all the little jigs that I use. I can do the back plates 5 at a time. I do the other back plates 6 at a time. You get pretty smart about doing that kind of work. On a good note, the forge makes double duty. It warms it up in here too. So there you go. Chuck, you stay warm. That's my gun rack bottom. Just put these on the Etsy store. So out here in the West, a lot of people, because there's a lot of ranchers, like to have a firearm behind the door of their house, going out of their house because of coyotes and foxes and snakes and all kinds of stuff. So I developed a gun rack that will hang vertically, so you can put it behind the door. Hang it behind the door of the house on the inside, and then you can just and take it out and use it if you have to. And that's the bottom component. Very secure. Pretty hard for a rifle to come out of there without lifting it up first, and you'd have to jump pretty high to come out of there. So I'm fairly satisfied with that. And then the top, it's just a ring. It sits in there like that. And I'm doing these in two sizes, so I'm a lever action guy, and I would show you with a real gun, but I can't. They don't allow me to do that on YouTube. And I guess there's so cannot let people show real guns on a live stream of a morning. So I had Brady over at Art Sand and Steel cut me out two of these. But anyway, so that's the top of that's how the top goes. Then you put them in and out, so like that. And they work pretty slick. We've been working on a ton of different stuff lately here. Here's something. These are kind of cool, and I've showed these before, but I'm going to put these on the Etsy store too because I have no need for them. I built them for myself, thinking, oh, one of these days I'm going to want a set of those. So these are what they call fencing dogs, and that's forged out of one piece of steel. And you can watch me forge that. I've done some shorts on them and some of my long form videos. But let me see if I can find a piece of wire. So I know they use them. That line tell me they use kind of the same thing for doing lineman work. But what you do is this hooks into a come along or a block and tackle. And what you do is you take this fence or wire and you put it in there like that. And then this rolls around and binds against the wire. And now you can stretch your wire. And these have probably been around since barbed wire fence was developed back in the 1860s, 1870s. So, yeah, those are going on the Etsy store too sometime today. Trying to get this shop cleaned up a little bit around here. I'm a Marlin guy. Yeah, I'm a Marlin guy. I've got a Marlin 94 that I carry, and several others. But I got the Marlin is my favorite. But I'm kind of a Ruger guy too, so I've got several Rugers. So I kind of had to switch over to a scoped gun because as I've gotten older, my eyes have gotten bad and my eyesight's not what it used to be, and so a scope helps. Oh, while we're sitting here waiting on that, I had a guy who's on the board of directors for the Fort Bridger Bridger Day's Rendezvous call me, and he's like, "Ooh, we'd like to have some of your stuff down there." And I haven't heard back from him, which is fine. But one of the things that I used to sell at the Rendezvous a lot is these flint strikers, and I make all my flint strikers out of rasp, horseshoe and rasp, because I've done so many of them out of that I know how to harden them. And last July, I went down to Evanston, Wyoming with my son because the big boy steam locomotive was there, and we set up. And on the way back, we stopped at South Pass. South Pass. And South Pass is the biggest gold area in Wyoming. And there's tons of this schist. I don't know, but there's tons of it laying in tailing piles all over South Pass. It's everywhere. And I thought, I'm going to try some of that. So I brought some home, picked up some pieces, brought some home, picked it up off on the side of the road, brought some home, and yeah, 40-14, you think? So that works pretty good. Who'd have thunk it? I get a little crazy with some of them once in a while. My favorite ones to do are these ones though, because you can put a lanyard on those, and then they don't then you don't lose them. So anyway, and if you're wondering how you use that, you have to have some char cloth. And generally, what you would use to make char cloth is some kind of a little tin can like this, and then you just cook some. I use my old Western wear shirts, old shirts, denim shirts. My pocket one. Yeah, I might even put this on the Etsy store today. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. This one turned out pretty good. That's a fairly. I did this one on a live stream the other day. That's a fairly typical. I know it's not very big, but the original ones weren't very big. So, little belt axe, tomahawk. I bet these. I haven't bought these handles in a few years. I bet these handles. I think I paid $4 or $5 for these handles. I bet they're closer to 10 now. Everything's cold this morning. How's everybody doing? I hope the weather is better where you are than where I am at, because I'm looking out the window right now, and the snow's coming down so hard that I can't see. I can't hardly see across the street. They were talking 6 to 12 inches. Took me 2 days to get shoveled out before. I wonder how long it's going to take me this time. Blacksmithing in real life. While we're waiting for all this stuff to warm up, if anybody's got any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Yes, I'm a blacksmith. Yes, I do it every day. This is what I do for a living. I used to shoot horses and was a farrier and train horses, and kind of aged out of that. And so now I'm doing this work for the last 15 years, pretty steady. Yeah. Morning, but yeah. Yeah, it blew like last week, it blew like hell for about 3 days. And I knew there must be a good one coming in. And boy, did it lay down a bunch of snow. I don't think I've seen this much snow since 2017 was the last big storm we had here. Shoveling again. I'm really surprised I'm not sore. I thought for sure with all the shoveling I did yesterday, I'd wake up sore. Probably tomorrow will be the day. I'll be sore as hell tomorrow, probably. Yeah, we get that right here. I'm in Wisconsin. What state? I'm in Cody, Wyoming, which is the closest town to the east entrance of Yellowstone National Park that you can get. So I'm about 50 miles west of the east gate of Yellowstone. So we're on the pretty much the eastern side of the Rocky Mountains here. That's kind of a cool. I was experimenting with a twist a while back, and I twisted a little too much and I wrung it off. So I'm going to do something with that. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with that yet, but I haven't thrown it out. No mistakes, just happy accidents around here. And then yesterday I was working on some of these too. These are little drawer pulls that I do. One of the styles I do. So I do a little of everything. I'm kind of a general blacksmith. Everything from knives and axes and to art. I do quite a bit of jewelry. Depends on how I'm feeling. But slowly catching up on the Etsy orders. I've got an order that I got to do for the local museum down here. I got an order for 80 hat racks for a guy in Florida. And the hat racks are going to have these as the back plates for the hat rack. And there's probably 30 there. But my horseshoe stack is covered in about 4 foot of snow right now. So numerology. That's some voodoo stuff, isn't it? Numerology? Numerology? I had a girlfriend 35 years ago, and she was big into the astrology. Yeah, I learned all about it back then because I was into whatever she was into. Because I really wanted to be in her. So there you go. That's kind of how that works. Young guys, listen to me. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, back when I was young, dumb, in my prime, and now I'm old. Did you guys see the caltrop video? So apparently the Ukraine. Oh, okay. This one taught me a lot. She taught me a lot. She was 10 years older than me, and she taught me a lot. So apparently, I saw a video the other day on YouTube where the Ukraine has figured out a way to get drones to drop caltrops on the roads. And so they're stacking them up like Pringles potato chips. and then they fly the drone over the roads, and then they just sprinkle them all over the road. And then I guess the cartel is really mad down on the Mexican border, and so they've been throwing them across the fence down on the border to screw with the border patrol down there. So I thought, oh well, that's kind of a timely thing. So I'll do a video of them. So I did a video. The other day of me forging these caltrops up. And if you don't know what a caltrop is, so these have been around since the Bronze Age. They go by a lot of names. I think now most people call them a caltrop. But is it a tetrahedron? They call them a tetrahedron. So no matter how you set them, no matter how they fall, they always land point up. And these are kind of a more traditional. These are kind of a more traditional style of them. I think the modern ones they're not gorgeous. Several of them. Okay. Got around somewhere. That's little ones. It's kind of the precursor to a landmine, right? And these on horses, man, I can't even imagine like on cavalry. Ooh, that would mess up a horse bad. So very smart people. Okay. So anyway, caltrops. I had a couple of others that I made up. I don't know where I put them. Oh, it's a lot of little pieces of metal, but when you stack them up like that, it turns into one big piece of metal, and it takes a little time to get them heated up. So, but we're going to use the treadle hammer after caltrip. Caltrip, caltrops. Lindy Beige on YouTube has done some videos of them. There's a bunch of guys doing videos of them traditionally. I think these are probably, this was about the standard size. I cut them out of just some hot. So I just took some 1/4 inch. What is that? 2 inch, 1/4 inch. So what I did is I just, and you could do this with a chisel hot. I was just going to build 2, so I just went over to the bandsaw, and I just cut out like that, and I just drew the tips down. That's how I did it. And I imagine that traditionally that's probably how they were done. If you've got a good sharp chisel and a good solid vise, you can put that in a vise and you can just cut those. When that's hot, you can just cut those with a hot chisel. And then you can just draw down the ends. I think that's probably the most efficient way to probably build them. But you can build them out of anything. Nails, if you've got a welder, you can build them out of anything. You guys see the hand forged nails I did? We're getting ready for Easter around here. I'm going to do a few of these up for Easter. It's very gruesome to me, but whatever. Christians dig it. So what we're going to be doing this morning is I'm going to be doing this decorative edge on these as soon as those back plates start warming up. In fact, it's probably, at least I could do the top one right now. So we'll go over here to the treadle hammer. You guys can watch me do this. So of course there's a process to that. You prep the back plate. I knock the corners down so they're not pokey, and then I countersink them. And you got to do it in that order, of course, because you want everything to have a nice, even finish. So you got to do all the countersinking and drilling before you do anything else. How does one counter shank? You guys are so young. Oh my God. You'd be my children. I had my, oh my goodness. Yeah, you could definitely be my children. Wow. Okay. don't know if I can manage this or not. We're going to try it. I can drift this small stuff like this. Freehand and manage to maintain some straightness in that punch. But if you were going to do anything that was much thicker than this, I really recommend drilling a small hole on either end of where you're cutting, and that will help you keep your drifts straight. And it also keeps you from splitting too far, like splitting out the front and the back of your where your drift goes. Okay. So when you're forging under your regular hammer, like on the anvil, you want to forge like you would forge underneath this treadle hammer. You really, as much as you can, want to move your work underneath the hammer blows instead of moving your hammer around too much. It's just a good habit to get into. It will help you with your hammer control. FYI. Now I could absolutely do this little punch cold, but do this little decorative thing cold, but it's hard on your tools, and you don't get a nice product. Get out into the forge. Yeah, it's damn cold. It's snowing like a son of a gun here right now again. I thought it was going to start. They were talking 11 last night to 11 tonight, and if it keeps going doing that, if what it's doing now, we are going to have another foot of snow. It's getting a little crazy. I'll show you guys in a minute here. Yeah, it's slicker than hell here. I had to go to the post office yesterday afternoon, and I've got a little all-wheel drive Subaru, and even it was having a hard time. I got a lot of family in southwest Wisconsin, Prairie du Chien, and I got good friends that live in Kickapoo. I spent a lot of time there as a kid. Well, you must be catching the snow that we had here 3 days ago or 4 out here in Cody. I was telling everybody earlier, I haven't seen this much snow in Cody since 2017 was the last time we had snow like this. In the southern part of northeast Wisconsin. Okay. I'm pretty much related to every damn Norwegian in southeast Minnesota, northeast Iowa, and southern Wisconsin. I'm related to every Thompson, Sorensen, and Headington in that whole country. A lot of hard-headed Norwegians. Yeah. You know, out here, we get about 80 or 90% of our moisture for the whole year. It comes in March and April. Generally, March is our big snow month. They didn't even open the ski resort here this year because we didn't have enough snow so late. We didn't have enough snow early. We got a little mom and pop ski resort here just between Cody and, well, it's actually the east entrance of Yellowstone. There's a little ski resort. They didn't even bother to open it. I think everybody's going up and poaching now. Had a lot of snow, a lot of fresh powder. Yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of German. There was a big couple of big German settlements along the Mississippi River there in Iowa. That's the other half of my family back there is Germans and English. So yeah, that's one thing here is the snow machining. There's a lot of people from Wisconsin that come out here to snow machine in the Bighorns. And I think you could still do tours into Yellowstone, but you can't do them from the east entrance. You got to go around to the north entrance of Yellowstone to do it. I don't think you can get into the park. They limit it now. You have to get a special tag. You used to be able to just go up, but now you got to get a special permit to go into the park on your snow machine. They celebrate Oktoberfest in Decorah, Iowa. That's a big thing back there is Oktoberfest. Yeah, it's a big thing back in Iowa too. Back there. It kind of turns into a Norwegian thing. If some young in Cody from about the day that they open the park in April, generally it's like the last week of April. It's a lot of times they'll try to get it open by the 20th of April through September anyway, when the kids go back to school. Cody is turned into a real tourist hub. A lot of tourists here. And of course, all the Californians have found it. And so the town is up. I think the county, Park County, Wyoming, is up 5,000 residents since 2019. And there was only 32,000 residents in the county to begin with. So that's a lot. That's a big jump. So You know, if some enterprising young man wanted to start a business or have a side hustle, you could pretty much just make chisels and center punches. Uh, and you could almost make a living. And then if you added in some simple tongs, guy could almost make a living selling those on on like a Shopify store or on an Etsy store. There's a lot of people that ask me for that stuff. And I just don't have time to be building more stuff. I've got 40 or 50 products on the Etsy store, so I just don't have time to build more stuff now. I could start a whole nother store with some of the other products I do. So, and I'm not setting the world on fire, but I'm sure not starving. So, all right, cup of coffee number 3. Oh yeah, it's coming. The rest of the rabbit is going to be up chalk, and I'll show you why. So his body is going to be made out of this piece of sucker rod. And so this is going to be his butt. And then I got to draw this big old piece of bar down about 1.5 feet. I got to draw it down to where that head looks good on there. And this won't fit in my little 1-burner forge, so I'm going to have to use the big 3-burner. And I'm going to wait for my big muscle to come in here and help me draw this out. Because I can do it with the power hammer, but I'd really like to do it on a live stream. And with the power hammer running and the compressor and everything, it's really it's not fun to listen to. So we're going to do it by hand with a striker. Yeah. Well, I've done a lot of it. And because I've got the 2 heads, I'm going to go ahead and do 2 rabbits. And then the other thing I got to do for the rabbit is somewhere. I'm going to have to cut out its legs. And his little rabbit legs are shaped like that. And then I got to hammer them up. So I'll have to cut those out. I'll have to pre-cut those. I actually might use the plasma cutter just to cut the roughs out, and then I'll hammer them up. They got to be 3-dimensional. It's not a lot of work left, but it's just time-consuming work. Like I said, I could do the bodies in the power hammer, but a 2-headed rabbit. Yeah, well, this is one of these is a commission piece I'm doing for a guy, and so It's got to be just so. All right, so that's the back plates done for the day. I'm glad I'm done with those. So I'm going to teach you kids. I'm going to teach you kids. So all of these little cutouts get used. I never throw any of this material away. Very little goes to waste in the blacksmith shop, and that's typical, I think, of most blacksmiths. Because a little piece like this becomes the back plate on something like this. So none of these little pieces, none of these go to waste. They all get used, right? But there's none of them the same size. And where I'm mounting these, oh yeah, I've been to the House on the Rock. Yeah, heck yeah, I have. I think I've been there a couple of times. That place is nutty. So I'm going to show you how to find the center. Like I'm going to drill some holes, right? I want to do the holes like this, and I want them to be in line like that. And trying to measure that sometimes can be a chore. Now, this is just a set of dividers that I've made. Okay, so I'm going to get this pretty close. I'm going to say, oh, well, we're just going to measure by eye. And I'm going to say, yeah, that's pretty close to the center. And then I'm going to scratch that. And then I'm going to come over to the other side and I'm going to scratch that. Well, now you're pretty close there, so maybe we'll just go a little more. And now you know where your center is. Yeah, sorry, my internet connection is really bad. Let me go see if I can bump up the internet. The internet here is really sketchy. Okay, so build yourself one of these, learn how to build one of these, and you can go watch my older videos. And this is a handy tool to have in the blacksmith shop, especially if you're recreating stuff. So now that you get this, now that you have this measured, you can set that, and no matter how wide matter how long your backstock is. What's House on the Rock? House on the Rock is this crazy, it's kind of a museum. There was this crazy old man who was super, super wealthy, and he built this house, and it's literally, he put this house out on this huge boulder overlooking the river. Is it the Mississippi? It's not the Mississippi. It's one of the rivers in Wisconsin, and it jets out over this over this valley. And he's got this, and there's one room in the house that's this huge optical illusion. So the room is probably only 30 or 40 feet long, but it's regular sized at this end of the house, and at the other end of the house, it's like this big. So when you go to that room and you look down there, it looks like that room is a mile away, the other wall. But it's full of, this guy spent his entire life collecting um, carousels and samurai armor and all different kinds of armor from the Middle Ages, and it is nuts. It is crazy. This house is nuts. It's rock, and it's in. Can't think of what town it's in. In Wisconsin. But if you just Google House on the Rock, it'll come up. It's crazy. And then one of my other favorite things is in Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin. And there's a house called the Villa Louis. It's one of the first houses in the United States that had running, they had toilets. It was pretty crazy. So, yeah, there's a lot to see in that part of Iowa. There's a guy, and I don't know, he's probably gone now. This has been years and years ago, who had a shop, and he specialized in selling stuff to the movies for westerns. So he carried all of the cowboy hats, the chaps, the vests, the old shirts, the handmade shirts, the leather. You get both still in the bag. Yeah, it was yeah, craziness. There's a lot to see in that part of the country. When you make that tool, you want to make it out of tool steel, because that way you can get that so those harden up. House on the Rock is in Wyoming. No, it's in Wisconsin. House on the Rock is in Wisconsin. Think of the town. Shit, it's been 40 years since I've been there. So, you ever seen these old anvils like this? And they've all got a bunch of little crazy marks on this side of the anvil where they're all speckled. Those little speckled marks on the offside of the anvil are caused from blacksmiths making punches and critchels and then hardening them up. Then what they would do is, once they thought they got the hardness right, they'd reach across that anvil face and they'd give it a little to test to see if their pritchel or their punch or their center punch was hard. That's why a lot of those old anvils, that's why all those old anvils have that. I've about had enough with the numerology thing. Has everybody else had enough of the numerology thing? We're about to get rid of Mr. Numerologist. I love you too. They make it so easy now to do this. I love this. They're finally getting this technology to where it's kind of fun. All right. All right, now that we're done with the back plates, work on splitting this. Oh, well, there you go. That's kind of crazy. Who'd have thunk that? Wyoming, Wisconsin. Huh, I didn't know. Didn't know that. That's funny. A little ironic that we were talking about that from Cody, Wyoming this morning. Wyoming, Wisconsin. I didn't even know there was such a town as Wyoming, Wisconsin. We're going to try to cut that eye out of that this morning. Wyoming, Wisconsin. Who'd have thunk it? Had no idea. All right, stand by. I'm going to do this other back plate. Wyoming, Wisconsin. Oh, did you want to see what I did there? So I just drilled it, and then I've got a little fluted countersink. I've got a little fluted countersink. Dead strikey hammers. Dead strikes. I don't really have an opinion. I've never really used anything but a traditional hammer, so I don't really have an opinion. Honestly, I don't know that I'd know a dead strike hammer if somebody hit me with a dead blow. I wouldn't know if somebody hit me with one. Like a dead blow, like something soft, like made out of copper or lead or something like that. I don't even know what one is. I can't imagine that they would hold up. A dead blow. That's called quenching. Yep. Well, like a dead blow that I know of, like one that's full of lead shot. Can't see that they would hold up. They aren't really designed for that, I don't think. But I don't know. Maybe it's some new thing that I've never heard of. I don't know. I've never used them. I've got some dead blow hammers. Like this one's full of. Can you hear it? This one's full of lead shot, and I use it for doing like fender work and stuff like that. But there's no way you could forge with this. Well, yeah, that one's full of, I'm pretty sure that one's probably full of sand or something, lead shot or something. Yeah, that one's not, yeah, that one's got nylon in them. Um, I I don't even like having nylon handles in the hammers in this shop because anytime something lands on them, they melt and they're sharp. They get sharp and they're really hard on. I have exactly, I have exactly two fiberglass nylon hammers, and you can tell that that sucker has never been used. It's brand new. This is something I got in in trade a while back. Yeah, I don't think a dead blow would work very good. I sure as hell didn't. So yeah, if you got a nylon face on your hammer and you try to hit anything with that, everything gets hot. You're going to melt the end of your hammer off. You notice once the inside of that forge get hot, it does not take very long for stuff to get up to temperature. Um, I'm down to one cigar a day. I smoke one a day. They say it's good for your testosterone. I don't know. I was smoking about three a day, but I'm down to one a day now. Yeah, no, it's propane. They call it a Venturi forge, and it's just a little one burner. But I have a big three burner one. There's my big three burner one over there. When I'm doing the big stuff, but where I'm just doing this little stuff and bullshitting with you guys, that propane's too expensive. And I have in the summer I run a lot of coke outside. I use coke forge outside, but I'm leasing this building, so I've never put a vent in here to run the coke forge on the inside of this building. My next interim, I'll have a coal forge on the inside. The next time I do this. Now that's bullshit. Double quenching. So coke is to coal what charcoal is to wood. So to make charcoal, they use wood, and they cook the coal. They cook all of the coal tar out of it, and it makes charcoal. Well, you can do the same thing with coal, and you get something called coke. And coke is super clean and super hot to burn as a fuel. It's hard to stay lit. It's actually about the same price as the coal, and it burns a lot cleaner and a lot hotter. Traditionally, it was the thing that they used to make steel. Back in the days of U.S. Steel and Birmingham Steel and what was the other one? It's another big company. They would use coke to power the furnaces to make the steel. Now they're all electric induction. We do it right because we do it twice. Well, there's some things that's true for, but quenching is not one of them. So now that I've got that slit with the slitting chisel, to take the last bit of that out, I'm going to use this punch. And we're going to take out a nice little slug along the bottom, and then it'll give me a chance to screw with the cheeks. But I got a little burrs on here, and so I'm going to go clean the burrs up on this. Yes, that's exactly right. They were probably coke. They were probably making coke at those furnaces. A kiln, yeah, they were using a kiln to make the coke, probably. Or they could have been charcoal kilns, because they use the same thing. They would make a brick or stone thing that looked like a beehive, an old round top beehive. They'd stack it full of charcoal or coal. They'd catch it on fire. They'd seal it up, and they cook all the coal gas off, or they cook all the wood gas off, and then you end up with either charcoal or wood. It's kind of the same process to do both things. You see a lot of them in Pittsburgh. They used to do a lot of it in Pittsburgh. I think there's some places along in Wisconsin and Michigan that they made a lot of coke. because they used it back when we made a lot of steel in the United States before they had induction forging. All the steel was made with coke. All right, Chuck, we'll see you later. Stay safe and dry and stay off the damn road, man. It looks like it's going to get nasty. It's snowing like hell over here. We'll see you later, Chuck. Thanks for sticking around this morning. I'm going to need a glove for this, I think. I'm going to want a glove for this, I think. Not that I'm a wuss or anything, but I've gotten smarter in my old age. There's a lot of ways to do this. You could do a V cut too in these. I might even have one here to show you. I don't. Most of the time I use a flat one just because I don't like to put a piece of tooling underneath what I'm doing. So I'll generally do this with a flat one. Not here, boy. I think it's picking up. Now the snowflakes are about the size of the end of my thumb right now. Oh, here. If anything, it's picking up. It looks like the wind might be picking up a little bit too. I'm glad I'm in here and I'm not out there. I've seen guys try to back punch these where they punch most of the way through on one side and then flip them over. But I've always had a hard time keeping my slit centered. So I tend to just punch them from the one side down. And this is a pretty short punch. This tool I made to go under in the power hammer. This is some tough ass stuff. This is the springs out of the railroad, the clips that hold the springs down on the rail for the railroad iron. Man, that is some tough ass stuff too. It works good. All right. Now let's go get another tool. Another tool. I don't know if this is going to work or not. This is pretty wide in here. I don't know if this is going to work or not. We're going to try it. Let that get heated through. and 0 to 15 without windshield. Yeah. You know, Cody's kind of weird. We're in a banana belt here. We have mountains all the way around us, and we are at 50, 53, 5,500 feet, depending on where you are in Cody. But we don't get a lot of the weather that they do, particularly south of us. We don't get the cold that they do down in Pinedale. And we don't get near the snow and stuff that they do up in Billings, which is 100 miles north of here. So we're kind of in a little banana belt here. It's got to be a pretty damn bad storm if we're going to get snow like this here. And generally, they're coming in slow, and it takes 2 days for them to come in and 2 days for them to go out. So these will punch a lot better generally. You let a little of the heat go out of them first. Don't double strike. Because that will make you mad. You notice I flip that punch around because no matter how close you are at making your tools, you'll always have a little bit of difference. But you have to have a hell of a good tool. Oh. So we're shucking, we shucked that out. I'll punch that from the top side or from up here now, and that'll pop right out. I'll give it just a little heat. I won't let it heat up all the way through because I want it to shear. So I'll just give it a little heat till it gets just a little color in it. To where the thin will bend, but the outsides are solid. There it is. So there's our slug. That's the little piece of material that come out of the hole for the eye. And then there's the eye. And as you can see, it's pretty clean. Sorry, the camera's moving around. Sorry, I bumped it. But you can see that that makes for a pretty clean hole. The reason you do that and don't drill those out is you save all the material. You don't lose very much material, and then that way you've got all that extra material for the cheeks. Because I want to fatten the cheeks up on that. So if you drill the material out, you lose the material in the drill bit cuttings. You don't lose very much material if you punch it. I've made tools out of all kinds of stuff. My favorite stuff to make tools out of is either sucker rod or truck spring, coil spring, or flat spring works good. It's like a 51 series steel. Yeah, you get all that lake effect snow. And the humidity, man, that humidity back in that country, it kills me. I can't stand it in the summer, and I can't stand it in the winter. It's like being out here in Wyoming where it's dry all the time. That humidity back in that country, it's just. I spent 18 days in Alabama here a long time ago, and I think I was cold and wet from the time I got off the airplane until I got back to Wyoming. So when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you've got your heat through that piece the whole way through. You don't want one side of your piece being hotter than the other side, because when you drive this drift through there, you take the chance of one side moving more than the other, and then you got to fix it, and that's a pain. It's just easier to just make sure you got the heat all the way through the same. Yeah, the coil spring makes, and knives too. Actually, that coil spring, if you know how to temper it, man, it'll make a tough knife. It's hard to forge. It's hard to forge under the hammer. It does not like to forge. But once you get it to shape and you get it tempered right, I've got some punches in here that I've had for 30 years. Oh, longer, 35 years. That I made out of truck spring back when I was in school. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm doing this, is to teach. So see, I got that fairly even, the heat through that. I'll put this. Like I said, that's a very, very short tool. I would generally use a taller tool, a longer tool for that. Let's see, 1095, yeah. It's hard to tell. I think if I was going to use new steel, I'd see if I couldn't get some of that flutagon. I've never made anything out of that flutagon, but all these guys, they swear by it. But I'm too cheap to go buy new steel to make punches and chisels out of. So if I was going to order some steel to make chisels and punches and drifts out of, I might try some of that flutagon. It's water quenching. And then I don't think you even have to temper it back. But Brett Bailey, he swears by it. And I think old Black Bear Forge, John, he swears by it. But if I was going to experiment with new, generally if I need a punch or something, I don't have time to wait. I need a punch now. I need it today. I've got the truck spring here. I build it out of truck spring or whatever I have. And so I don't ever, it's not like I'm going to Blacksmith Depot or something and waiting with bated breath for a piece of steel to make a punch out of. I'm doing this a different way so you guys can watch me do this. Generally, I wouldn't, see this tool is one I made for axes. And so the hole in between these two spaces is made for a wider drift. It's made for an axe drift, not one of these little tomahawk drifts. Generally what I do is I use the jaws on the vise, and I'll show you that. I'll just go ahead to. But this vise is sitting here due to for filming reasons. I don't like having a loose vise bucking around while I'm trying to do stuff. But I've got this one set up for doing demonstration work. So. See, I've got specialty tongs that I use for under the power hammer. Like I said, power hammer. And I will probably leave this one square. I'll probably leave it square because I want to, because I'm going to make the handles, and it's a lot easier to make a square handle than it is a round handle. And so I'll probably leave this one square. And we're not going to finish this today because I'm going to cut this and then I'll split it, and we'll forge in a bit on this. But this guy gives you a pretty good idea about how I do my drifting. And I do it a little bit different because I have the power hammer. We're going to do a tomahawk. Let me see if I got one here. We're going to do something sort of like this, only different. This was one I made years and years ago. That's why it's still in the shop. I over drifted the eye, and I've never bothered to. But instead of doing this goofy I'm going to cut this, and then we'll forge weld bit in there like this. Yeah, so so last week I did a welded eye. This is a welded eye. So that's a piece of horseshoe and rasp that I folded around and forge welded together. And this is a drifted eye. I'm showing how to do both styles. But don't learn to code, learn to make tongs. Screw coding, learn to make tongs. You got to know how to make tongs if you're going to be a blacksmith, and you got to be able to do them pretty quickly. You can't be messing around for 2 days working on a set of tongs when you need a set of tongs, specialty tongs, to hold something. And they don't have to be fancy. This is a set I made years ago, specifically for holding these stupid. Yeah, you can't cold real tongs. This is a set of tongs I made, I don't know, 25 years ago. I needed something to hold railroad spikes, so I made this set of tongs up. Look, it's a bolt. I didn't have a rivet or didn't want to take the time for a rivet, so I had a bolt, so I used a bolt. It doesn't matter. And these have done hundreds and hundreds of these. I'm fairly satisfied with that. I'm quite satisfied with that. Yes, I is. Make sure to quench off the drifts. Most guys would not use their punch as a drift. Most guys would have two separate tools to do this thing, because you take the chance of taking the temper out. But so you'd have a punch to do the punch, and then you'd have a drift to do the drifting. But I don't. I use the same tool. Or today I did. So I'll go ahead and cool this off. So we can handle it. So the thing about this is, as you can see, yeah, it turned out nice, huh? It's a lot easier to make a handle. It's a lot easier to make this handle than it is to make this handle. I've never found a good, I mean, you can screw around making one of these teardrop shaped tomahawk handles. You can screw around with that for days. So, so the thing about making these out of these railroad spikes is you don't have a ton of material here. So there's a couple of different ways of doing this. You can take this material and you can slit this and you can fold it over, and that doubles the amount of material you have here.
You can forge that out, and then you get a bunch of material here that gives you material, or you can forge weld. You can forge weld a bit in. And so what I will do, and I probably won't do it, I got to go get some more propane because you have to have a lot of propane. So what I will do is I will cut a bunch of this off, and I'll split this, and I'll put this piece of rasp in there, and it will come together something like this. And you can actually see where I forge welded that, see, in there. And then you end up with something like this. The most elaborate thing, man, I don't remember. This is 36 years I've been doing this, and I've made some fancy spurs. I've made some fancy spurs. I've done some ridiculous chandeliers, some ridiculous ones. I've worked for months on handrails, and I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that would be. I have no idea how much. Yeah, I don't even know. I've done a lot of crazy stuff. That anvil that I did, that great big anvil that I use for advertisement, that's the picture on my that I use once in a while. That great big anvil that I made out of sheet metal. That took months and months to do. I just did it a little at a time. So I don't know. That's a good question. I do not have an answer. But yeah, so if you're building tomahawks or whatever, and you're going to do your own handles and not buy handles, because I imagine, I haven't bought these handles in a long time, but I bet they're $8 or $10 now. And I got them from a guy, there's a guy out in Virginia who's got a duplicating machine that makes them. But like I said, it's been 5 or 6 years since I've ordered any of them from him. So, but if you're making your own handles, square's better. Square's easier. And the tomahawk doesn't care if it's got a square handle or a round. So, all right, more questions, anybody? I'm gonna give you enough time for me to smoke a little more of this cigar, and then I'm gonna go weld my hat racks up. If you like what I'm doing and you want to support me and you don't want to give the money to YouTube, which I totally understand, this is my Etsy store. And I've got about 40 products on there of all different kinds. And I'm not asking to buy anything. I totally understand how the economy is now, but I would certainly appreciate it if you'd go over there and like some stuff. If you could go to the Etsy store and just like some stuff, it helps the algorithm. The more people that go and like my stuff, more people see my stuff. Yeah, well, that's why I'm doing this. Honestly, you guys, if I was starting today, if I was my son's age, if I was 20 years old and I was starting out today, I'd go get me a job. I'd save up my shekels and buy an $800 JHM 128-pound journeyman anvil. I'd get me 2 or 3 hammers. I'd forge me up some tongs. I'd build me a little forge, and I'd start building stuff. And at least for a while, you'd have a heck of a good side hustle. Because when I started this 36 years ago, there was no internet. And if you told me back in 1992 or 1995 that I would be able to make a living in Cody, Wyoming, which is BFE, blacksmithing, in little old Podunk, 10,000 person Cody, Wyoming, I would have laughed at you. But thanks to Etsy, thanks to Etsy, thanks to YouTube and the internet and me being able to get on here, I would do it again. And now I would be way more successful than I am. You know, I'm 53 years old. I'm wore out. But if I was 20 and I had the energy that I had when I was 20, screw that horseshoeing, man. I'd be training horses and doing blacksmithing. I think for somebody who's not afraid to work, and look, I am 53 years old. I have done this. This is what I've done, this physical work every day for my whole life. And I'm still in fairly good shape. And so I think it's good for you. Physical work is good for you. It's certainly good for your mind. And if you have this much creative in you, this work, it really, really satisfies that art. I always wanted to be an artist. I never really considered myself an artist, but this really satisfies that creative part of me. And this country it's crazy. We've got so much mental health problems in this country, so much obesity, so much mental health problems. And a lot of it is because people are trapped doing shit they hate doing. And if it's true, if you find a job that you love to do, you'll never work a day in your life. And so I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I come turn this camera on and I stand here and I build some stuff. So, and I have built, I don't know how much stuff I've built. Tons and tons and tons of stuff. I've been on YouTube for, I think this is 10 or 11 years when I started this channel. So you can just watch the progression of where I've done the last 10 years and what I've done. And of course I was doing it 25 years before that. So yeah, I think yeah, anyway, I'm not trying to preach or nothing. Do what you guys want. But physical work has been good for me. Working for myself, just because I'm such a nonconformist, and I hate the fact that I go work for somebody and they pay me $15 an hour and they make $15 or $18 or $20 an hour on the $15 that they pay me. Right there. Right there. Sometimes I have Christmas lights around it that blink. Yeah, you guys aren't old enough to know who Flava Flav is, but Flava Flav was a rapper back in the 80s and 90s, and he wore a big clock. And so when I'm feeling frisky, I'll put that on and wear that like Flava Flav. Yeah. But don't think I'm setting the world on fire with my YouTube. If 6,000 or 7,000 people come into this live stream this morning, I'll make about 15 cents. So don't think I'm making any. Don't think I'm setting the world on fire with my live streams. I ain't making. It don't even pay for the electricity to keep my phone charged. So, but I hope that it directs people to see my other stuff, and I help some young people, because I know that there's a ton of young people out there that are feeling really disenfranchised. And that's a shame. Because I'm using a $100 Motorola phone. And I refuse, and I'm not making enough money off of on the live streams to buy the app that flips it around. If at some point in time I get to making $50 a day off of these live streams and all of my work, well then I'll go down and I'll pay for the app on the gimbal and it'll actually follow me around. But I can't afford the $100. I can't justify the $100 on that when it's not paying for itself. Well, that's good. I hope so. Yeah. I think the school system, and I don't mean to be political, but I think the school system, the establishment, whoever, the people who own all the businesses, the oligarchs, whatever you want to say, the government, whatever, I think they've let us down. They sure aren't teaching you what you need to survive in school, or else they teach you how to do your taxes. They teach you how to drive in school. They would teach all of the stuff that you should be learning in school. You don't learn. You don't learn. And my son, who is 20 years old now, he'll be 21 in August. He went to private school and and that wasn't because I paid for it. That's because his mother paid for it. He got a better education than anybody that's going to a public school. But he didn't learn all of that stuff. So anyway, I think this country is going to become a service industry. You're going to have to be servicing something because AI is going to take over a lot of those desk jobs. AI is going to take care of a lot of them. And it's already taken over a lot of service industry jobs too. You can't go to a fast food restaurant without them wanting you to order on your phone and all of that stuff. So you're going to have to get creative about it. Yeah, so I got this with a $100 phone and no internet in this blacksmith shop. I actually have a hotspot that's sitting in the window because regular internet won't work in here because it's in a steel building and it works like a Faraday cage. And so, and I don't own a computer. So that channel, that 115, almost 116,000 subscribers has been from this phone. So, all right, everybody. Stay tuned tomorrow for Blacksmithing in Real Life. I'm NJ. If you like the content, please flip over to the Etsy store, share some love. You don't have to buy anything, just go like some stuff. Or watch my videos. Like if you're not doing anything, just go to my channel and just run my damn videos because I get paid 8 cents per 1,000 views on my short videos. And so every little bit helps. But really, if you really want to help, just promote my Etsy store. And I try to do this every day. Generally, I'm up earlier, and I started at 5:30 Mountain Time, but I was a little late this morning. Yeah. See, I don't have an opinion. I think there's good and bad about everything. There's good and bad about unions. There's good and bad about Republicans. There's good and bad about Democrats. But I think that generally the leadership of this country has really let us down. And it might be a generational thing. It could have been the boomers let us down. That could be part of it. Because there's a whole generation in this country who, if you just showed up every day on time and applied yourself about half, you were going to be successful. And so, but maybe that's just my opinion, and it's worth about the amount of hair I have on my head. So, because what do I know? I'm a college dropout that beats hot steel with a hammer for a living. Thank you. Subscribe, and then you'll know when I'm back on again. And I'm sure you'll be thinking of stuff. You'll probably think of stuff that you want to ask, and I'm more than happy to answer that. And I will be working on the rabbit. If you're interested in the rabbit, I will be working on that this week sometime. If my propane holds out. Thanks everybody. Thanks for the likes. I didn't get as many likes today as I usually get. Have a great weekend. Like I said, I'll be back. I was doing a thing on Sundays called Sunday Forge Church, where we just come in and forge, just like I did today. But I've kind of taken my Sundays back now. So thanks, everybody. We'll catch you tomorrow morning.